Olympia feels like the last place in Puget Sound where it doesn't feel like you're getting slapped in the face with a dead salmon when we talk about prices.
Very appropriate here on the waterfront.
It is. Not sure if you've ever been slapped in the face by dead salmon, but go fishing with me, your luck might change.
Today we're going to talk about the hidden costs of living in Olympia. They were hidden. Did you really know that? Some are going to be, I think I like that. That's a good thing.
Might work in your favor.
So here we go.
We're Joe and Charity. We're local realtors here in South Puget Sound, and we want to make sure you have all the information so that you can make informed decisions about your move to the Northwest.
Number one, let's talk about insurance. I hate insurance. Well, I like insurance because what it does, but when I look at my bills, I feel like half of my money is going to insurance.
But good news here, you won't have to have volcano insurance. It's interestingly enough, that is a common question that we get because of Mount Rainier. And if you're like me and have any history about St. Helens, you'll know that it's real. There are some active or active-ish volcanoes in the Northwest.
This is great. So you know you don't have to have volcano insurance. And you know what else you don't have to have? You don't have to have wildfire insurance, which if you are from the great state of California, you know that that insurance is necessary. And even though there are occasional wildfires that are spattered throughout Washington, it isn't to the point where you actually need wildfire insurance. So that is a fantastic savings for you.
Yep. Now, flood insurance is another common thing. It is true that in some parts of Washington state, especially if you're on a river or if it's an older home that was built on the water previous to some of the new rules and regulations you have, you might have to have flood insurance on that as well. But the vast majority of property, that's not true.
Yeah, in fact, in Olympia, sometimes people are surprised that we don't have very many locations that need flood insurance. I had some people ask me just a couple years ago about king tide because they read something on national news that said it was going to be terrible in our area because the king tide was going to come up and flood all these properties. It didn't. There were no properties that had a problem with king tide. So you don't have to worry about that. Like Joe was saying, rivers are the ones that can, spread out and flood out when there's a lot of runoff and there's a lot of rain, but there are really not that many.
And also, there is no extra insurance needed for hurricanes or really big hail. If you're from Texas or one of the Midwest states, if you get a lot of thunderstorms where big hail happens, that doesn't happen here. And also the bonus is no hurricanes, so you don't even have to prep for them.
And you know what else we don't have? Tornadoes.
We do not have tornadoes.
So I don't even know if there's tornado insurance. Is there?
Not in our area, so
we don't even know because you don't have to have it. So all the insurances that you do have to have in this world, there are quite a few that you do not have to have here in Washington.
So once you talk about insurance, there really is the second thing, which is inevitable, and that is taxes. We do not have a state income tax. Now, that is one of those fantastic things. Washington, please never change. If the governor, if you happen to be watching this, please never change that about our area because that can be quite a deterrent to wanting to move to an area, especially if you're considering retiring.
Yeah, in fact, there are people who are considering moving to Washington in their retirement, particularly because of that, because they are looking at all the money that is going to be drained from their account living in the current state that they're in once they hit retirement. So super great bonus about living here. So let's talk a little bit more about taxes. There are some notable taxes here in Washington state. You've probably heard of them. One of them is the gas tax.
We do have gas tax. We do have a lot of ancillary taxes. Please do not be deceived in thinking that Washington state is low on the list of tax states. It's not. However, you do get a lot of other benefits that go along with it.
And if we can weigh taxes over here like this, we can also weigh income over here like this. And when they level out, you know what's really amazing about Washington state is we rank at the very highest for disposable income. That means that the money that you're making in comparison to the money that goes out on all of the things you're spending it on is perfectly balanced, so much that we have more money than anybody else in the country to spend on all the things we want to spend it on, like Amazon or a vacation or something like that.
Going out to eat, all the necessities of life. It's nice to have a little extra disposable income because the overarching wage increase versus the cost of living is in such a great place in our state, especially in our area. Unfortunately, we have to have another caveat on taxes, and that is property tax.
Property tax, thankfully, is not as bad as it is in other states. If you look at a comparison chart, we rank pretty midline for property taxes. The one thing that is going to get you, though, here in this area is this. So if you plan on getting a waterfront home, you are going to have higher taxes for sure. And, it might be worth it.
It really might be worth it. The part of what really drives up that are connected to your property taxes is the school district that you live in, because most of the people living in our community really support education and want to do the best that we can for our kids and future generations. So you're going to pay a little bit of extra on those because most of those levies do pass, whether you like it or not.
The good news is that if you are a senior citizen and you qualify for the income guidelines, you actually may have a great reduction on your taxes. So definitely look into that if you are in that category.
Now you know what's in store for taxes. Let's talk about the general cost of living. What's it like, the daily necessities, and how does that impact quality of life that you're going to experience here?
First, we're going to start with one that is a big one for most people, and that is the cost of gas, because you are going places. And the cost of gas is not super great here.
Yeah.
We'll just say that.
It's not super great. Matter of fact, we had another bump on that at 4 cents a gallon. So we get taxed there. So just be aware of that. That might impact you especially if you're commuting a lot.
You really don't notice it once you've lived here for a while until you go to another state.
That's right.
We go over to Idaho to where our son's in college and we're like, wow,
Look at this.
cheap over here. Or down to Texas where our daughters are, we're like, whoa, it is really cheap down here. Most of the time, you're just watching it go up and down and hoping it goes down like the rest of the people in the country.
Now, here in the South Puget Sound area below Seattle, our food prices are a lot better. We're 15 to 20% below Seattle's rate for groceries, which really is nice because it just helps your money go a lot further.
Restaurant meals are typically more affordable as well, especially if you're comparing it to Seattle because they have extra taxes on all of that. And we do not have all those extra Seattle taxes, which we are really grateful for. And then just because you're part of a smaller community, the prices aren't as high as they are in a big city. And gotta say, there are some wonderful restaurants here.
There are.
Just a little shout out to all of our wonderful restaurant owners here in Olympia.
Yeah, Briggs Tap House and Cascadia. I always throw them out because they're delightful, wonderful people, great owners, the whole 9 yards.
A lot of your disposable income might be going to restaurants if you like to eat out a lot and don't like to do as much cooking in-house. But another thing that you might be spending money on is entertainment. And thankfully, our entertainment is more affordable than other major metros as well.
An example of that would be in Tacoma. They have the Rainiers, which is Mariners AAA affiliate team. And you could get great seats for $15, $20, $25, and you're really right on the field almost. So that's nice compared to like going to a Mariners game, which could cost you for the same type of seats well over $100. So it does have these wonderful little features, really great entertainment, be a little bit smaller size and scale, but nonetheless just as entertaining, a lot of fun to have with your friends.
We're going to pull this next one out of the general cost of living and give it its own category, and that is utilities. Underneath insurance, utilities is the very next expense line in my budget.
That's true. Now, what's great about the Northwest is we have this really large river called the Columbia River. It has multiple dams on it, and we do draw a lot of our energy source from hydroelectric dams. So because of that, and it's not just those, there's others on smaller rivers throughout the region, it does help keep our utility expense a little bit lower.
Right. I know that we have clients moving here all the time from California, and they are surprised when I share with them my most expensive utility bill, and they're like, oh, that's our normal utility bill. So yeah, it's definitely better. And the one thing that is important to know that if you're talking about your electricity and your natural gas, that the older the house, the more expensive your general utilities are going to be just because it's not as efficient. But some of the newer houses are so efficient.
Oh my goodness.
Their bills are really, really inexpensive. Like in the peak, like 120.
Yeah. Yeah, some clients that just moved into a really wonderful brand new 3,000 square foot home. That home has solar panels on it that help offset it just a little bit. Overarching, they're paying around $150 for a very large brand new construction home, and that is awesome because that's cranking up the air conditioner during those 3 weeks of the year of which we need it. Of course, we do need a little bit more on the warmer side when we get to those cold, dark days of December and January. But have no fear, it does get sunny again once we get to the spring.
One thing to note about natural gas is that the state of Washington has
a love-hate relationship.
Right. They've been trying to take natural gas away from us. You may have an opinion on either side, but the last thing that happened was that we all voted. The majority of us said that we want to keep natural gas as an option. And so that is something that hopefully will heaping opportunity for us in the utility field.
Speaking of water and hydroelectric dams, not that you're going to drink from that, it is great though that our water source around here are very, very good. So that cuts down on some of the expenses because you might come from an area where you are looking to buy bottled water all the time. I know parts of California are that way and other parts of the country as well. You don't have that here. Our water really is clean and fresh and comes from snowpack that we get up at the Cascades and Olympics. It really is good water and you're going to be surprised.
We tend to really take advantage of our water and how great it tastes right out of the tap until I go down and visit my daughters in Texas and I drink the water out of the tap and I'm like, oh, that tastes like warm dirt.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
So here it is amazing. And because we have so much of it, that means your utilities, water utilities, are a lot less than they would be in a state where they are running out of water.
We do not have that issue. Another cost that's going to impact your monthly budget is potentially HOA fees. Now, not every community has HOA fees, but there are many of the newer communities that do, especially in designed communities and developed communities. And you're going to want to take a look at those because they impact the amount of home that you potentially are going to be able to afford.
Now, it may seem like because we're talking about this that they're extravagant and exorbitant, and they're not. Really, the ones that are the highest are going to be potentially like a 55 plus community where you have a lot of amenities, swimming pools and clubs and all kinds of things. And those are like in the mid 200s. When HOA fees are in the mid 100s around our area, most of them are going to include front yard landscaping. So you don't have to mow your yard, you just have to deal with your backyard. And then underneath 100, a typical is around $68 a month. And that's gonna not usually cover anything that you see necessarily in your own space, but you are going to have neighborhood parks, just green spaces and things like that in the neighborhood common spaces that are cared for. You do have some old HOAs and they might be $20 a year or $100 a year and you really don't, there's nothing. You don't see anything for that. But really, compared to some other areas in the country, we don't have a lot of HOA fees.
Caveat to that is a condo. So condos traditionally have higher fees, and that is true in our area as well. We don't have a ton of condos in the Olympia area specifically, so you're not going to run into it as much there. What we do, obviously, when we're helping our clients in the Tacoma area move into condos, those could go all the way up to $1,000 a month. However, the vast majority here in the Olympia area are much lower than that.
After breaking down all of these costs, you may be surprised to find out that Olympia actually is one of the most affordable places in the Puget Sound area.
For sure. And if you're ready to explore what your actual cost would be, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to us on the number below. You can either call or text or shoot us an email and jump on our calendar. We'd love to chat and help you make the most informed decision you can when you move to the Puget Sound area.
And if this video has been helpful for you, then keep watching because the next one is why everyone is moving to Olympia, and you should too.